Hey everyone, and welcome to lesson 5. Today we are working with something called a trend line. And when we're working with trend lines, um, we are looking for what's often called a line of best fit. So that means that you are looking for one line that goes through most of the data and is a good representation of the data. Because remember, when we're working with scatter plots are random and they aren't going to be, but they still, even though they're random, they can still be predicted if there's an association. So when we're looking for a line of best fit, we're looking for equal spots or equal coordinates. We don't need this. Equal coordinates on both sides of the line. On both sides of the line. Okay, so let's take a look at the lines they gave us here, option A, B, and C. This is a downward line, and our data is a positive correlation, so it's for sure not A. I'm going to write these out here. It's for sure not A. And then let's look at B. B is this line right here. This is my guess for what it's going to be because it's in a pretty good amount of it's a good divisor of these lines. So it splits these, I'm sorry, not the lines, the coordinates. Oh, and now I have hiccups, sorry. Okay, so it splits the coordinates pretty evenly, meaning that there's a good amount of coordinates on the left of it and a good amount of coordinates on the right of it. It's pretty even, and most importantly, it is in a positive direction. So that's a possibility. Now let's look at C. C only has 1, 2, 3 coordinates near it, and the rest are all on the right of it. So C is kind of far away. So we're going to say that B is a good line of best fit for this data. Okay, and the reason why, I'm going to draw another one over here. The reason why we look for lines of best fit is so that we can make predictions. Okay, so if this is my data, my line of best fit would be somewhere like this. Okay, so it would be somewhere through the middle of it. And there would be coordinates on both sides of my line. And then I could use this line to make predictions. So if I were to, it doesn't tell me what my labels are here and here, but if I had labels, I could make predictions as to where another coordinate would fall based off of the green line that I drew, my line of best fit. Okay, so here it is, a number in part 2. It says the scatter plot suggests a linear association among the data. Draw a trend line to represent the data. The only way to do this is what I recommend, at least, is getting a ruler and putting it on your graph and looking for a line that's about halfway through the middle of this coordinate and goes all the way across the whole thing. So it would be something like, I'm going to start it here on this one. Whoop, all the way up here. That could be a possible line. I didn't start it down here because it looks like most of my dots are going in this direction. They're not all the way down near the 0. So I did not choose to start it down there. I chose to start it here. And it says write the equation of your trend line. Ooh, okay, so this one, we're going to go back to slope-intercept form. I started at 3, and it looks like I went up about 2 and then over 2. So that's a slope of 1. So I'm going to say my slope is y equals 1x plus 3 would be my equation. Okay, and that's the equation that could represent this trend line. And you may have chosen a different line. Maybe you chose, I'll do it in pink here, maybe you did start from the origin and you kind of went up like this. Maybe that was your line. If that's your line, maybe your slope is 3/2. So maybe it's y equals 3/2 x plus 0. Something like that. Okay, so there's a few different possibilities, but we're looking for a line that represents the data in a really clear way. Okay. Okay, and then we use that line to solve problems. Here's a good one because it's pretty clear to see where this line is in this scatter plot. Draw a trend line to represent the data. Okay, I'm going to draw the straightest line I can. Let's see. I'm not trying to connect the dots, trying to draw a straight line. Okay, so it looks pretty close to this. Maybe I would start in the 0 if I were to draw that again. And I like to start in the 0 because a lot of times it asks you for the equation. And that's pretty simple because that means my y-intercept is 0. So I'm just looking for my slope here, and I'm going over 5. So let's see. Go up 1.6 over 7? 1.6 over 7? I'm getting that because these numbers aren't perfectly straight. So they're not in increments of 1. So I'm getting a different kind of number here. Let me see what that is. 1.6 divided by 7.2. So my slope could be 0.2x plus 0. I don't know if I like that one. Let me just do it normal so we can get a better idea here. I'm going to just do it like pretending that these are ones. So that would be up 1.5 over 1, 2. Up 1.5 over 2 is a good guess. 1.5 divided by 2, 0.75. Either way, we're still at a decimal range. Okay, so slope of 0.75x, and that's why we started at 0, so we could have our intercept of 0 there. That could be a possibility. And again, this is a positive linear association. Okay, so this may have seemed a little bit silly because there's so many possibilities when we're looking at how I can draw a line of best fit. But the good thing to remember about these is whatever you choose to draw, that's what you need to use for the rest of your problem. So a lot of times when you get to state testing, you'll have a question that says draw a line of best fit and then use your line of best fit to predict blah, 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 something else like the weight or the height or something else. So you have to use the equation. So as soon as you draw your line, stick with it, choose that line, and then use it for the rest of your information. Okay. So now in your closing check, just focused on numbers 1 and 2 for this one, and then I will pull up the answer key. I'm taking a peek at these answers while we're here. Ooh, 0.3x, like that first one we got. Okay, here are your possibilities for your solutions for your answers. And remember, this is a close guess. So if you're anywhere close, and if you change this to a decimal, that's okay. Just make sure that you're somewhere close to these numbers.